8121 Talk.
It's Elondious. Got to be more careful.
You can say what you want to say.
Elondious. Got to be more careful.
8121 on 1. Season 3, episode 5. In this episode, I'm without my ride or die. So I decided to do an episode where I discuss some things that are on my mind. I mean, everyday stuff, like Arsenio used to say, things that make you go, My question is the world changing? Is it really? It's a popular statement that I've thought about all my life. Like, you hear people say that, man, the world is changing. You can tell it's the end of times. Is it really? What would prompt someone to say things like that? Is it because of the weather? Is it because of behavior? Things are moving at a rapid pace, technology. Is it because you're now in a world that you don't recognize anymore from years ago? I mean, I was born in February 1968, and as far as I know, February's always been cold. I grew up in Selma, Alabama. February was cold. I moved to New York City. February was cold. I moved to Buffalo. February was cold. I lived in Virginia. February was cold. I even experienced a hurricane in the winter. And I think it was 89, something like that. But February was cold. And now I'm in Colorado Springs. February's still cold. Every now and then, you get what I like to call anomalies. Temperature shoots up. Things are not the same. You might not get the same amount of snow and whatever. And the first thing you hear is the world is changing. I mean, my mother used to say that all the time, and I would question her, like, why? Let's jump into that.
Please, continue.
You see, I've always envisioned the world as linear. There's a beginning, there's an end. Nothing lives forever. And of course, in the beginning, things seem brand new. And as time goes on, things start to die out. Things change. But we're also looking at a planet that's roughly around 5 billion years old. And I used to tease, my friends, and I would say things like, the earth is going to be all right. Your ass is getting out of here. I mean, let's think about it. Something extreme like climate change. Let's say there's an overload in carbon in the air. The earth will still be here facilitating that overload in carbon. You're out of here. Let's say there's extreme cold. The earth will still be here, a frozen ice ball in space. You'll be out of here. Mankind, should I say, will be out of here. So let's think about it. The urgency to repair the earth, to clean the earth, to save the earth, is it arrogant or is it selfish?
Whoa, stop right there.
Most people that make statements like the world is coming to an end, they're only thinking about themselves, not the future. I give you a great example. And this is just me. The views expressed right now are not Elondious' their mind.
Got to be more careful.
What was the thing that was going on during the pandemic where people were, PPP, was it PPP loans, right? I refused to do that. And the reason I refused to do it, because I understood that somewhere down the line, this will come back to bite.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Not in the short term where you got caught, you got to go to jail, you got to pay a fine. No, I'm thinking it would affect the money down the line, AKA mess with the Social Security, mess with things of that nature. So I took an unselfish stand. Now, when I say I didn't do it, I'm not referring to the people that actually needed it to keep their businesses afloat. I'm talking about the hustle. It's a very big difference. I refuse to hustle and do that. I would just have to do without. And plus, I didn't have a business to need it. Yet, I digress. Veered off a little bit there.
You're smart enough, that's right.
Global warming I understand what it does. I understand what it will cause. I understand the detriment. But as long as the population keeps growing, as long as there are people breathing, because we breathe out carbon and all these things, as long as there's greed, pollution being dumped into the ocean, cars, etc., destroying plant life, destroying rainforests, as long as that's going on, everything's going to move in a linear progression to now. Most people, when they say the world is coming to an end, they're talking about the dramatic change in people's behavior. If we talk about generations, there's baby boom, there's Generation X, there's Generation Z, there's millennials, there's whatever. Of course, there's progress. I'm born in 1968. I'm Generation X. My view on the world, my personality is totally different than my mom's born in 1948 during the baby boom generation. If you go back and you look at history, most families in the baby boom generation had at least 3 or more kids. When you get down to Generation X, when we start having kids, roughly around the 80s and whatnot, smaller families, only children, at least 2, but the 4, 5, 6, it's not happening. And if you go all the way back to pre-baby boom, like my great grandmother Lizzie, who was born in 1884, she had 10 or 11 brothers and sisters. Our mindsets change. Things change, like, women's rights. I remember this old commercial that would be like, I can bring home the bacon, I can fry it up in a pan, and never forget you a man. Progression, right? And of course, there's detriments to it, and there's good things about it. But things progress, and sometimes they don't progress for the better, which makes it very uncomfortable for you in your time span. And then you say things like, hey, man, the world is coming to an end. You see these kids nowadays, these kids, simply put, are not us when we were growing up. It's how they see the world today. It's how they experience the world. It's how they feel the world. I mean, can you imagine? I'm born in 1968. I don't know what year you were born, you as a listener. But I always say to myself, yo, if I had a cell phone when I was in elementary school, wow, life would be a lot different. But no, we had to stay in place, in ear distance when our mothers call us, and so forth and so forth. Now a child can go even further away from the nest, so to speak, and be reached by a cell phone. Can you imagine talking to someone on the phone at the same time someone is calling, but your line is busy? These kids today don't know that. It's a different mind state. Back in the day, you got into a fight, It's over. Even the older kids would be like, hey, you let one go, it's over, get out of here. Nowadays, they coming back with that thing. They shooting. It's different. Where it started, when it started, I don't know. But yes, the world is changing. It's changing from what you are familiar with. Can you imagine? Video games, for an example, have grown exponentially. And I like to envision it like this. When we played Atari 2600, Atari 5200, we went to the arcades. Well, our progression was, arcades, and then they kind of flipped over into the home system where you had an Atari, Coleco. I remember even playing this old game. I don't remember the name of it, but it was just like ping pong. And you could literally trap the ball in a corner and sit there and play it by yourself. Think about that. Then it progressed into other game systems such as Nintendo, then Super Nintendo, then Sega, then Sega Saturn, and Nintendo 64. Excuse me if I'm passing something, but I'm only talking about what I had. Then Dreamcast. Then PlayStation. PlayStation 2. PlayStation 3. Xbox. Xbox 360. Now I think it's Xbox One because I'm totally out. That progression. And I like to think to myself, these things that are born today that kids are doing is out of our want when we were kids. Think about it. We're the ones that created this. Advancing, advancing, advancing. But to some people, it's uncomfortable. It is very uncomfortable. And when things don't go your way, things starting to look super different. It's getting dark outside. Oh my God. The world is coming to an end. Nah, it's not coming to an end. Your world is coming to an end. Your timeline is coming to an end. Well, things ain't what they used to be. That's what people say. You're right. They're not. Things have changed. Don't know if it's for the better. Don't know if it's for the worse. I don't know. There's a very good chance I won't be around to see it. But as long as I'm here, I'm going to live in the moment. I'm going to enjoy what's in front of me, and I understand things don't stay the same. I can't save the planet. I can't change everybody's attitude. Like me and my friend talk about, I can't go on Facebook and, hey man, you shouldn't show liquor. You shouldn't show ass. You shouldn't do this. I got to do what I got to do for myself. And hopefully what I do for myself, if I do it in the right way, I can put a little bit of me, some of that old school, in my children, the new school, and so forth and so forth. Before you can make change, you got to make a successful change in your own life. Can't change the world. 8121 1 on 1.